All right, guys. Welcome to a very special edition of the Aftermath Podcast. It is my absolute pleasure to present Professor Brian Marvin to you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, and I'm going to let him give you the full bio. This man is responsible for what we're doing here. He is the founder of Renzo Gracie Clarksville. He has helped jumpstart Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the Clarksville, Montgomery County, and Tennessee area. He's responsible for a whole lot of the jiu-jitsu you see today. So I'm going to let him tell a little bit about himself. But first, I'm going to introduce everyone we have on our panel. We got my co-host, Calvin, to my far left. My daughter and, I guess, new co-host, Jada, to my right.
Yeah.
For a moment. Anyway, she's on a trial basis. All right, Professor, please tell them a little bit about yourself.
Not too much. I spent 20 years in the Army, retired very shortly after I left Clarksville. Opened up actually was going to move back here, released to the Nashville area and be a cop, but I decided to open up an academy down in Houston. And then as soon as I opened up that one, James and I got together to start formalizing what we were doing into a real academy and creating a business from it, and then expanding from there. And I think that started around 2014, 2015 is when it became, we opened up something in like 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Right? 10, 11, somewhere in there. And then it grew into what it is today. This academy is actually the oldest one that I have, because we started it as a Clarksville Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy at a Circuit Athletic, yeah.
Cool. So, love him to death. He's very humble. So in his 20-year career, he is an Audie Murphy Award recipient. He was a 160th recruiter, as well as being vital to that team and what they do.
President of We Defy.
President of We Defy Foundation, and so much more. All right? So we may have to pull some teeth to get him to actually give out all his accolades. For those of you who aren't in the military, explain to them what the Audie Murphy Award is.
Well, it's not an award, it's a club, and it's just a leadership club. You got to do a bunch of stuff to compete for the honor to be inducted into this club and association. It's a fraternity. Audie Murphy was a most highly decorated service member in the United States, so it's really cool.
Tell them what he did.
He did a lot of stuff.
So for those of you who can't read between the lines, Audie was a BMF. He was a badass motherfucker. And to be a member of that club, you have to be a BMF. That's what this young man is to my left. All right? So it starts there.
I'm trying to remember the bio. Audie Murphy was a legend in his own time. I was always terrible at memorizing things. Like, terrible. Like the NCO creed, I was like,
I forgot that
remember this
as soon
thing.
as I learned it, yeah.
Like, I remember when I was in BNOC, and it was like, hey, or not PLDC, not even BNOC, PLDC. It's like, hey, you got to learn the NCO creed. I'm like, all right, crap, it's got like 4 paragraphs. I better be studying this thing. And then it was like the freaking Audie Murphy thing, and it's like, the thing about that, so I was actually the president of the Audie Murphy Club for USAREC for a number of years. And sitting on boards, like, that was the one thing that was absolute no-go. If you missed a single word in the bio, like, you had to know the bio verbatim. And I don't right now, because that was like a lot of years ago. And even though as respectful as that club is and everything, like, a lot of what I got out of the Army, I don't stay in that zone anymore. You know, I live in Houston now. There's no military around Houston, there's a little bit of like reserve stuff, but like there's no military in Houston. Like I'm down there. Like, if you didn't know that I was in the military, I'm just like a normal person down there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like a normal dude. I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I teach jiu-jitsu. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
You would never know.
And I try to keep it that way. I like once I got out, that was the point in my life that I really learned a lot about myself from, and I enjoyed it. I have zero regrets. I mean, I wish I would have matured earlier in my military career and got promoted later, so that way I could have done some really cool stuff in the middle there. But I got promoted quickly and matured late. So by the time I got to the point in my life where I was mature enough to do some big boy stuff, like I was too high a rank to compete for those things. That's maybe the only thing that I regretted is maybe that I would have not tried to get promoted so quickly. I would have focused a little bit more on maturing more, so that way I could complete a couple of things that I really would have enjoyed doing later on in my career. But there's no way they were going to let me do it at that point.
Right. Okay.
So
That's awesome.
So, like I said, I'm like, this is a military town. I'm still inundated in it. So that's kind of where we are. But all of that to say, those present a certain skill set that I believe always carries over into entrepreneurship, into business. If you're a good soldier, you're on your way to be a good business person. All right. Which is what he's done. So some of the things we're going to talk about is inside of his military career. Also, what he didn't mention is that he's grappled pretty much his own life. He was a wrestler, student athlete. How long did you wrestle?
I think I started wrestling. My brother is a year younger than me, and he started wrestling a year before me. I tried to wrestle the same year that he did, but my mom was like, no, you two are going to do different sports. I'm going to let him do that because he wanted to do that, and she stuck me in basketball, which I hated. I fouled every person imaginable. Like, I will wrestle you on this court. I want to grapple. And then so finally she got the hint, and the next year I started wrestling. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade when I started, something like that.
All right, cool.
That's what's up.
And I've literally been grappling my entire life. Like I'd taken short pauses, but I went from wrestling then through high school. I got a scholarship to wrestle at Miami, Ohio. Was back on that maturity thing, was not mature enough to go to college. I really didn't even want to go to college, but I got a scholarship to wrestle, so I wasn't going to pass up on that. As soon as I dropped out, I worked for a little bit, decided I didn't want to work like that the rest of my life, and I needed to get some maturity, or at least started to get some maturity and get some more money to go back to school. So my plan was to go back to the Army for 4 years, wrestle in the Army. When I got out, go back to Illinois State because that's where I was from, Illinois, and then wrestle there, and then become a teacher. I really wanted to be, at that time, a phys ed teacher. I wanted to coach wrestling.
Oh, bet. And look at what you're doing now.
Right. And so from then, I ended up staying in the Army forever. But while I was in, I wrestled on and off when they would have tournaments and stuff like that on post. And then I got selected for recruiting, and they sent me to Iowa.
Nice.
And so they sent me to Iowa, and I was like, boy, this ought to be fun. And so I finagled my way to be able to be a volunteer coach on a local high school team. And man, that was some of the most fun that I had in my life in wrestling. Because I thought I was okay before then. Man, those guys were good. I mean, and like the coaches would kick my butt, and I really got a lot better at wrestling at that point because I mean I was there for like 2.5 years, I think, and we were always wrestling, and I mean it was a lot of fun. And then from there, just moved to the next town, wrestling, and then until I decided that I wanted to compete again. Like I got tired. I was like mid-30s or something, early 30s, and I got tired of like seeing all the competitions. I still had that desire to compete, and so like there's no
wrestling for
old men.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's awkward. It's like that old dude in that like throw the wrench guy, like the heavy
you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Yeah.
Like that guy with the hey old Sparky.
I'm Sal Bandini. You want to wrestle?
Yeah. That's what I felt like. But submission grappling and Jiu-Jitsu it's like wrestling with extra stuff. Like you not only get to wrestle them, you get to choke them and make them quit. I'm not only going to try to pin you on your back. Oh, I pinned you on your back. No, you didn't. Oh, my whole back wasn't down. Like, all right, man, whatever. Yeah. You quit. Like now I know. Like
exactly. It's
you
definitive.
Quit. Right. There is no doubt. So it made wrestling even better for me at that point because now it took it to the next level. You couldn't dispute it at that point.
You tapped.
Indisputable.
Yeah, you tapped or went to sleep.
Yeah, and that for me was like the ultimate fun in grappling. I mean, I love the chess game of submission, like, and that's basically how I lived my life for a lot of times. And early on in my jiu-jitsu career, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm just going to talk.
Keep going.
Early on in my jiu-jitsu career, that's what got me in a lot of trouble, is because I had that style. I cared less about any points. You know what I mean? All I wanted to do is attack, get to a more dominant position. I would as I would be attacking, if it transitioned to something else, I would allow that transition to happen. And that's when I really started to develop that other 4 principles that I came with. Like, no, you need to maintain a dominant position. Like rule number 1, get to and maintain a dominant position. Rule number 2, you need to be controlling the pressure or relieving it if you're on bottom, you know what I'm saying? And then controlling that space as well. Like, if I'm on top, I'm controlling that pressure in that space. And then number 4, you already know what that is. I'm always choking. Always be choking.
ABCs, baby.
Always trying to
be
attack
choking.
the neck from any position that I can maintain a dominant position. Because that's rule number 1. That's not rule number 4. Rule number 1 is maintain the dominant position. So while maintaining that dominant position, controlling that space and pressure, my hands are going to be on your neck. Like, that's...
No.
Do you still compete?
I do. I haven't in a minute because I literally just had double shoulder surgery.
Oh.
I had this one about 4 months ago, and this one was 3 weeks ago. When this podcast comes out, I'm probably going to get yelled at for not wearing the bracelet I'm supposed
That's what I was
to
going
be
to say. Shouldn't you be in a cast right now? Like, where?
But it's much more comfortable without it, and
Okay,
I try
but
to
you
stay
have to
within
heal.
the rules of my doctor. So.
Right.
But I plan on getting back into competing as soon as I can. It's just right now I'm kind of focused on some other things, and individual accomplishment isn't one of those.
Really? I got a question.
Team accomplishment.
I want to hear
is one of
stories.
those.
I want to hear your plane crash story.
Plane crash? Who told you about a plane crash? So we were going into Fort Drum. It was the middle of winter, and we flew from. Man, I can't remember where we flew from, but we had to get a connecting flight to go from wherever we were at to Watertown Airport, where Fort Drum was at. The airline that we used was called Cape Air, and there was a TV show in the 80s or 90s.
Yep,
Wings.
Yeah.
Wings, that TV show. That plane that was on that TV show was the flagship plane of Cape Air, and also the one that I was sitting on when we were flying. So that plane from that TV show, we're flying from whatever connection to Watertown, and we're flying there. It was a King Air, and there were, I think, 6 of us on board. Maybe 7. I think it was the pilot and like 5 of us, and then one old lady, which was hilarious. I'll tell you the story about that. And then my buddy, who was the warrant officer for the 160th, Jay Davis. I think Jay Davis was with me. Randy Wise was the SME for the 160th with us. Yeah, Randy Wise. Jay Davis, me, and Randy Howard, who's still here, working out there at the compound. He was on the plane too. I can't remember if Dave was on that plane or not, Dave Walther. He was on the team as well. But anyway, we're flying, and we leave the connecting, and it's no issues. And we're flying up to Watertown. It's upstate New York, and it's getting snowier and snowier and snowier. And I'm looking at Jay, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of snow. And so I grew up on small planes. My stepdad still owns four airplanes that he restores, and so I grew up flying planes. Like, I've shot a million approaches next to him, behind him, shooting the approach myself, him landing the plane. So I've done this, been in this situation a time or two in a plane that size. So we're coming in on the approach, and Jay's a little bird pilot, and I'm like, Jay, don't you think he's coming a little hot? And Jay's like, no bullshit. Jay tightens down his seatbelt. He's like, nope. And so I was like, fuck my life right now. And so I'm like, all right. So he shoots this approach, and he's hauling ass. And the runway is this long. Well, he starts landing about halfway because it's going so fast, and there's 6 inches of snow on the runway. They had plowed it, but it's upstate New York.
Yeah.
6 inches of snow, ice underneath. We hit the first time, bounce. I'm like, here we go. Hit the second time, bounce, turn sideways, hit the berm of 3 feet of snow at the end of the runway, shear off the landing gear. The props are all like spaghetti at that point.
Oh my God.
And we come sliding to a stop, I don't know how far. You could do the estimation of how far that would be. We come sliding to a stop at the end of the runway, on the other side of the runway, remember, we hit the berm at the end of the runway where they pushed all the snow, and then we're out in the field. And so literally, plane's buttoning down. I was like, man, the door is right here. I'm at the back of the plane. The door is right here. So I turn the thing, I open the door, and this lady is right in front of me. I was like, go, ma'am. And she's like, well, the stairs aren't down. Well, the stairs were laying on the earth. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't go down to walk down because we were on the earth. So I was like, ma'am, just walk out of the plane, please. And she's like, oh, okay. So she gets out. They got to cut Randy Wise's like $8 million North Face bag out of the nose cone of this plane because it's stuffed in there and he's got all this shit in there and they're trying to get out. It's this ginormous bag. So we have to go to like Granger or some crap in the next couple of days to get him a new bag to drive home. They literally gave him his bag all cut up and they're like, oh, here you go. And he's like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah, so it was, and what's hilarious is we see it takes them forever and we're freezing at this point because when we left our connection, it wasn't that weather.
Right.
So I didn't have a jacket on. I just had like a regular shirt or whatever. It's like 6 degrees. We got on this plane. We're all freezing. That we couldn't get to our gear. Like we're waiting for these people forever to get to us, and they finally get there. And it's like, hey, can we get warm? And they're like, yeah. We get in front. Like they're freaking out about what we're gonna say to the news people because they're gonna ask like, who are you guys and what are you here to do? Well, we're part of a special operations recruiting team. You know what I mean? They're like, zip your lips, don't say shit, and just go stand over there. So we just did. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings. So we get done, go check in, blah, 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 blah. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings. No bullshit. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings later on that night, and we're eating dinner. And we're all laughing about the whole fiasco and everything like that. And the waiter, waitress, whoever it was, comes over and is sitting and talking to us. They look up at the TV, and the plane crash is on the news. and the person was like, oh, man, there was a plane crash today at Watertown Airport. And we're like, you see those people? And he goes, yeah? I was like, that's us. And they're like, I think it was the guy, just like, oh, my God. It was hilarious. They realized that it was us that was sitting. Man, it was nuts, man.
That's crazy.
And so I vowed, well, I plan on never going back to Fort Drum again because I said I was not going to fly into Watertown the next time I went back. So I flew into Syracuse.
Yeah.
And then drove down, got a speeding ticket. And I'm like, I'm never coming back to Fort Drum ever in my life. I don't plan on it.
Just not a good experience.
Definitely was a great story.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
All right, I do have a question because you mentioned this earlier, and just relating to wrestling and jiu-jitsu. You said, did you kind of stop sometimes and go again? So, like, what makes you come back to jiu-jitsu, to overall?
I like...
choking people, we know.
but I like the grappling art. I like when I started learning jiu-jitsu, I wasn't trying to, how do I want to describe this? It was like a standoff to me. Mm-hmm. Where two people got two guns and they're shooting it at each other. You're looking at another person and they're trying to do to you what you're trying to do to them, and you're trying to outsmart them or get them to do what you need them to do without them knowing it. So anytime that I would go away, I would miss that like mental chess part and the grappling part, but like the trying to get you to do what I want you to do without you doing it, that was always fun for me. Like that initial part that we talked about. Once I figured out that there was no more disputing, you know what I mean? There wasn't a no question. Yeah. Like you tapped,
it's over with.
or you said tap, or you quit, or you went to sleep, or whatever. I mean, I prefer choking people over. I mean, I do wrist lock the crap out of people, but
yes, you do.
Arm bars, I'm not a big arm bar guy. I just would much rather choke necks than feet or arms. I mean, I love wrist locks, but.
Okay, I do have a follow-up question. As someone who struggles herself to be consistent, how would you coach someone being like, hey, like just come when you want to, like just consistency overall of someone who does want to get better?
So I was literally just talking to somebody up front, not necessarily about that complete situation, but the situation of jiu-jitsu and longevity and how to continue that process. And if I was going to give advice to a beginner, what would that advice be? And what I told that person is to always make it fun. Like, ultimately, on the entire grand scheme of things, like, the only person that you have to impress and make better is yourself. So anything that you're doing, looking for outside validation is going to be detrimental to your success, because you're always going to be thinking, well, am I doing this right for that person? No, I've got a saying, and at the end of the saying, and I said it in there, I was like, let's figure this out together. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to help you learn your jiu-jitsu with you. You know what I'm saying? Let's figure out how we can get you good at jiu-jitsu together. Because what I may teach, I mean, you're going to do it, but you may not be able to do it the way that I do. I'm 6'1", you know what I mean? I got a wingspan with one arm. This one doesn't work right now, but I got a pretty good wingspan, you know what I mean? So if I tell you, oh, it's easy, all you got to do is this, and you're like, Brian, I don't have 8-foot-long arms, man. Like, I can't just do it like that. What my point is we got to figure out
what works best for you.
What works best for you. And if you
an app for that.
and if you concentrate on just having fun and allowing the process of jiu-jitsu to happen, like, man, it is so enjoyable. The most fun that I ever had in my life with jiu-jitsu is the jiu-jitsu I do now. Because I don't care about anything other than having fun with jiu-jitsu. This dude named Francisco Lowe, you can look him up. Him and Samuel Guy, who just won a world championship. Samuel owns an academy in Houston. They come down to my open mat. The first time they come into the open mat, no disrespect to those guys, but I didn't know who they were. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they came in, and I said, are you guys here for the open mat? They said, yeah, we heard there's an open mat. I'm like, okay. And I gave them a tour, showed them everything. I knew there were black belts, but I didn't know who they were.
Right.
And so I got everything set up, got everybody checked in, and Sunday's my favorite day to train, like my absolute favorite day to train. I love open mat because nobody asks me any questions. I can just go train. You know what I mean? Like, don't ask me no questions. I'm not here to teach. I'm here to train. It's my day. Leave me alone.
That's what you guys are.
And
so
we
say that so often. It's like people don't get it. I'm like, trust me.
Listen, I gotta have a day for me. You know what I mean? I mean, I love teaching jiu-jitsu, but I also love training jiu-jitsu, and I want to be able to actually do some stuff without having to stop and explain what I'm doing.
See,
you know
that
what
for
I mean?
me, that's called getting beat up without knowing why.
Yeah.
Because usually during class,
Ask them
while
on
they're
Monday.
beating you up, they explain to you,
Right.
hey, this is how it happens. You don't want your arm there, but on some days, no.
So that day, I get my gi on, I'm saying hi to people, drinking a cup of coffee because it's early in the morning on a Sunday. I put down my coffee, turn around, and Francisco's there. Like I said, I didn't know who he was. And he said, hey, you want to train? I said, yeah, let's train. So we slapped heads. I grabbed his collar, sat down, and he proceeded to half a second later leap on my neck like he did to Wrzynski in the no-gi world champ.
Oh my God,
he did that to me.
Oh hell!
And then
Holy shit.
half a second in, like I hadn't even taken a breath in the roll yet. Like my gi hadn't even moved, and he's on my neck. I was not expecting that at all. As he's leaping toward me, I'm laughing at this point. I'm like, oh my God, because I knew what was about to happen. And then after that, he probably armbarred me 100 times. Like, and then him and Samuel proceeded to wreck everybody in the open mat. Oh. And then after the fact, somebody posted who they were. And then I saw him the next time, and I was like, hey, I'm really sorry I didn't know who you were, but man, you guys are awesome at jiu-jitsu. And I've been friends with those guys ever since. And they don't wreck us as bad now. But man, they come down, especially Samuel now, man, he's always pretty much down there, and he's a really good guy. Francisco's moved a little bit. He's actually got a fight coming up, Francisco, with Big Dan in Submission Hunter Pro. They're the first matchup on Submission Hunter Pro.
Oh, that's going to be a nice
Sunday.
one. You guys don't miss it.
Yeah.
If you get a chance
you're going to be able to
it,
watch it on.
Is it on Flow?
I think it's going to be on.
On Fight.
I don't know what it's going to be on. I have to look now. But it's Submission Hunter Pro. That they're having like a tournament coming up this Sunday, and they're part of it.
Cool. That's going to be awesome. So a whole bunch of stuff there. We're going to get into some of it and come back. So for those of you who do know me, Now you understand what I'm talking about, position before submission.
Yep.
Yeah, as always, when I'm like, get on top, stay on top, figure it out. And then, like you said, I always tell everybody, I have an app for that. Like, it's your jiu-jitsu. All right, so when you guys are now trying to really understand me, it's a lot of the basics that I learned from him.
Yeah,
it is always your jiu-jitsu. The biggest thing he said that I really want everyone who's listening to get out of this, because no longer how you train, there are different coaches, there's different gyms, which means there's different cultures. I always say, figure out what that is and get it. If you are there for your instructor, meaning you're doing everything you can to please that man or that woman, you are in the wrong sport. It is your jiu-jitsu. Their job is to help you facilitate your jiu-jitsu. If they're doing anything other than helping you facilitate your jiu-jitsu, think about where you're at, what you're doing, or think about the relationship. You may need to have a conversation with them. The point of what we do is to, like I said, help you figure it out. Whether you need it for self-defense, whether you need it for mental clarity, whether you need it for stress relief, right? You figure out what your jiu-jitsu is and do it. The reason I say that is if you know you're not a competitor, but you're trying to impress the professor because he is, and you get into competition, that's not your jiu-jitsu, right? You're still trying to do something else. You're trying to get validation from an outside source. Don't. Your jiu-jitsu you should leave feeling better when you leave than when you came in. If you feel worse when you go out those doors because you didn't make somebody proud of you, you need to think about why you're here. That's my thing.
Well, and the other thing about training at a more intense level than at a learning level, I mean, because that's ultimately what you're trying to do, right? You can't figure out anything at a high intense level. That's not the learning level. Jada, when you learned how to drive a car, did your dad say, okay, put it in drive, put your foot all the way down on the gas, and hold on for dear life?
No, but he was holding on. But
No, but she did.
But she did anyway, right?
She did.
And you're
But
like, whoa. But you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people with jiu-jitsu try to live their life that way. Put their foot on the gas and just go. And it's like, that's not a learning phase. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You've got to lower that intensity to a level that you can learn the actual skill first. And if your emphasis is on anything other than getting it correct at whatever speed that is, I tell people on a daily basis, your body is going to tell you when to go faster. If you try to do it as slow as you can do it, your body is going to tell you, nah, man, you need to be able to do it faster now. And then the better you get at it, the faster you're going to be able to go. But it doesn't work opposite. The faster you go, the better you're going to get. Now, the better you get, the faster you're going to be able to go.
Right.
Okay, so I tell people, like, on a consistent basis, the only thing you need to worry about is just trying to get it correct at the lowest possible level of intensity. And then your body will tell you when it's time to go faster.
And speaking to like the relationships, my dad is a professor of jiu-jitsu. He's not my professor though. I cannot learn from him because he is going to say that I can do more than I can. Again, I can't. Like, I know I probably can get there, but right now I can't. So it's, again, just making the connection with your professor.
Can.
Okay. You just making the connection with your professor. Okay.
She just sucks. All right. Anyway.
Probably.
No, she's really good. But I will always encourage people, especially this one.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever actually got a chance to roll with Renzo?
I don't think we rolled. I mean, I've been at a bunch of seminars with him and messed around with him, but I don't think I ever rolled with him. I don't think I would have take that opportunity away from a student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there was a time that I would be able to, then yeah, 100%. And I'm sure we would, and I'm sure it would be an awesome experience for one of us, probably him, not me. But for sure, if there was an opportunity for people to train with him and there was a set amount of time, I would for sure default to my students to be able to do it. Like,
that's awesome.
If you think about a white belt or a blue belt being able to roll with that person, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Or if you think on the reverse of that, or a white belt and a blue belt having to wait to watch a black belt roll with him. You know, what is that white belt or blue belt? Man, I want to, like, he's a black belt. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
What
like,
are you going to get?
Yeah, you can roll with Renzo.
All you're going to get is beat up. You already know all that stuff.
You can roll with Renzo anytime you want. You're a
Yeah.
black belt. Like, I'm a white belt. I may never get this experience ever again in my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, so you're going to get him to come here?
I'd love to. I've talked to Cora, and I know that she wants to get out to all of the academies with Renzo and visit them. And I think that he would love to get here. I've taken him to whatever Fort Bragg is now.
Fort Liberty.
What is it called?
Fort Liberty.
Fort
now.
Liberty.
Yeah.
I've taken him to Fort Bragg and dealt with those guys over there with SWIC.
Shout out to Jason Abbott.
Yep. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Abbott is my team leader over there with the Renzo Gracie Special Operations team.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got a little team down there in Bank Hall that he's rocking and just built from awesome things with now Professor Stu Ferris.
Nice.
He's out of the military now, so he's now a Professor Stu Ferris. And they've got a really good thing over there. And I think that he would love to come here as well. So.
I know he would.
Yeah, and if he did, I would definitely try to get something on post too. I'd probably try to coordinate with Ray or those guys to
definitely
to have him do
amazing.
something on
That's
post.
amazing.
And
How do you like decide on locations and professors and not like to build a school? How do you know like, okay, this is the spot, let's do it. Let's how does that? Those are just
science.
Science. Elaborate a little bit.
Well, those are trade secrets.
See,
And proprietary knowledge.
Why you grabbing my leg?
No, I've got a philosophy of that. I tell people this all the time. I mean, I'll help pretty much anybody with business that wants help. But I believe, and this is how I've gotten to the point that I am now. If you have the right partnership at the right time, at the right location, you've got to pull the trigger on that every single time because it's going to be successful. The right people at the right time, at the right place, it's a go. If any of those three is ever out, then it should be a no, ever. If it's not the right people, it should be a no. If it's not the right time, it should be a no. You just got to wait or pass on it. And if it's not the right place, like you try to force an academy or a business in, I've got a thought process, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there. I think that these buildings and all these businesses get built, there's only certain businesses that are going to work in certain locations.
Right.
If you try to put something that isn't meant for that spot or location, no matter what it is, it's going to fail. And you see that time after time after time with a lot of businesses that replicate the same business into the same location. Like nothing has changed. That business, unless something dramatic happens with what you do there,
right.
That location, every time a new business goes into it that fails, kills that location even more. So it makes it harder for the follow-on business to be successful when the previous business was not. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yes.
So if you try to force something into some place that isn't the right location for what you're trying to do there, you're going to have to sacrifice either money for marketing to get them to go there. And so you're really just going to be spinning your wheels trying to chase, whereas if people would just be as patient as they could be trying to start a business or looking for a location, try to find the right timing with the right group of people at the exact right location and then do it all the way. But if any of those things three are wrong, I've turned down businesses that I just didn't, although there were great opportunities, I was like, no, this isn't the right thing. And I got to pass on it. And then I've had some that I probably should have passed on that I didn't. And then I just got to deal with that sometimes. You know? But generally, the right people, the right place, the right time, like I'm 100% going to pull the trigger on that.
Nice.
No. So, all right, throw this in real quick because Mike always makes me check myself. If you're looking for a place to train and you're in the Clarksville, Montgomery County area, we want you to come check us out at Renzo Gracie of Clarksville, where we've got pretty much all of your combat sports up under one roof. All right, come in, get your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, get you some Judo, get you some wrestling. Come in, get your boxing and Muay Thai. We have some of the best instructors in the area here waiting to service you. And you heard the way we talk about how we take care of our students. If you don't believe us, come and try us out. The first 3 are on me. Always come in and get it. Now, go ahead.
When I'd been here quite a few times. And it's funny, when I came here today, it was early too. It wasn't even anywhere it was like 4 or something, wasn't it? Like 4:30 or something?
4:30.
Yeah, like 4:30 or something. It wasn't even like a weird, like a late time. And as I came up over the road and I looked, man, there is not a spot that you can park in 2 parking lots. Like the overflow over there, the facility that you've created here is like second to none. The amount of things that a person could do here under multiple different arts, and then even with the physical therapy and the physical training in there, like it's just an overall, like I can't think of another spot like this around, especially here. You know what I mean? Like even in the Nashville area, I don't think that there's anything like that. Like Nashville MMA, back when Ed Clay and Sean Hammonds and Ray Casillas, those guys were running the Gameness Training Center. That place was like this. You know, it had a boxing ring and it had a MMA cage and a bunch of different mats and stuff like that. But since that place closed down, I don't think that there's anything like this around here, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I know Nashville MMA is still going, but I don't know if they're doing what we're doing. And very few people that also hit the wellness area aspect. So that's why we have physical therapy and we have strength and conditioning. But we also put the right people in charge of those mains instead of it. Not taking shots at anyone, but everyone thinks that they're a personal trainer because they know how they've been trained and how they can train. But you really don't understand the different nuances of training different bodies. And that was one of the things that used to bug me the most. So kind of the way we met is my first business was I had a personal training studio. I had Circuit Athletics. Inside of that, that's where Clarksville Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy started as a class, which I did not attend. They were up there and they were choking and doing all this wonderful stuff. And there was so many great practitioners that come through and it's like, yeah, I used to train at this place called Circuit Fitness. And I was like, no, it's Circuit Athletics. And yeah, I owned it. Oh, really? Yeah, we'd go in there and train all the time. And I told everybody, first couple of times I tried it, I was not a fan. Met Professor Braga, watched them get into it.
He used to have these like, what we call you? Your wrists were bad. And you used to wear these
parrot grips.
Parrot grips. Yeah, you used to have these like, because you had like carpal tunnel. Right?
Yeah, still, yeah, that's from the surgery.
Right, you had the surgery, right? But you used to wear these like wrist supports. Like he had like little parrot grips. I'm like, what are you doing them little parrot hands over there? Because he would be like, I can't. He'd be like, no, he'd be like, I can't because of my hands. I was like, man, you can too. I'm like, come on, try. He'd be like, okay, I can. But then initially he was like, I can't. But but now look at him go. Like he's fine.
Daddy, you writing this down? It's going down tomorrow.
Punching you both in your face.
I didn't say nothing.
Yeah. So no, I had
I'm bringing some crackers to class.
You don't need them because I'm going to choke the snot.
See, you guys are
And you made it
all
this
kinds
song.
of stuff.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about you.
Okay.
Hey, you want to talk about history? I mean, I'm going back.
Okay, you want to go back?
Yeah, let's go back.
Tell us about being a bouncer.
A bouncer? Oh, that job sucked. I hated being a bouncer because it was right when I retired from the Army, and I was trying to just stack as much money as I could because I opened a business. Like I had no money. Like I didn't have a job. My job was to try to start this academy.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to get my retirement set up and figure out my disability. And so I was still on leave, and so I started working as a bouncer just to try to get extra cash and like meet people. You know what I mean? But I would get off work at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I would sometimes go home. Sometimes I would just go straight to the academy and sleep. Wake up, teach 6 o'clock in the morning, like finish teaching, then go home and go back to bed. Like that sucked. But I mean, I just did what I needed to do to make life happen at that point.
Right.
Exactly.
And then I got divorced, and then I really needed to work extra. So I kept doing that until the point where I didn't need to do it anymore. You know what I mean? So.
Wow. Okay.
And now I don't need to bounce anymore.
All right. Grabbing all this stuff, trying to get right back to where we're talking to. So in the amount of time that you've actually been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, let's talk about the influence and how you've seen it grow. Not just in the States, but just how it has taken a fire and what you've seen. And I'm going to get you to admit how you've been a bigger part of it than most people would suspect.
It's grown a lot. I mean, I think really the growth of jiu-jitsu started with Seth and Fight to Win. once he started putting those events on, and then it got on to flow, and then flow grappling started happening. I think not only jiu-jitsu, but just the grappling arts in general.
Wrestling.
Wrestling, because now there was a thing where you could see it, you could watch it.
Like, it had a platform.
It had a platform, right. Before, I mean, man, you would hear about Fargo, like tournaments, and you would hear about this, but you would always have to see the results through the internet or some bullcrap
YouTube clip
video
or
of something.
Somebody's parents shaking in the corner.
But now you've got a platform where you can view. You know what I mean? And then they monetized it by starting to pay athletes, and then Gordon took off and really made it what it is. I mean, just between, I think that trifecta between Seth and the Fight to Win starting, and then the flow grappling getting on, and then Gordon's success, and then just how he literally dominates pretty much everybody, you know.
Yeah.
That really started it, I think. And then I really still think that gi jiu-jitsu is really good. And me and I guess Nicholas Marigali or one of the other ones. I guess there's some other people that do, but I mean, I love gi jiu-jitsu. And that's crazy because when I got into jiu-jitsu, I got into no-gi submission grappling at an MMA gym called Lone Wolf MMA, which is now 10th Planet, Kansas City. Jeremy Horton runs that. That's actually where I started training jiu-jitsu in St. Joseph, Missouri. But once all of those people started being able to view what was happening, I just hope gi jiu-jitsu gets the
love it deserves.
The love that no-gi does, because I think that the excitement of no-gi is all of the action. You know what I mean? And I think once people started to learn jiu-jitsu technically, like really deep diving into technical leverage and positions and rotation and controlling in different ways, and you started to learn jiu-jitsu in a more technical manner. That's the other thing that really started taking off. Because before, I mean, it was what I understood of a lot of different places that I had trained and seen jiu-jitsu evolve at different locations as I moved around the United States. Most people in the very, very early on years had to travel, learn, come back, teach. You know what I mean? So you're learning at a less technical level. And then, not that those people weren't as technical, but I mean, it's like you tell one person that secret, and how far does it get around the room, and it's the same secret.
The old, the game you used to play, communication game.
Right.
Yeah.
But now that people are starting to learn and it's being taught in a more technical manner, I think people are automatically trying to become full-time athletes right off the bat, which wasn't even it was like 10 years ago, we wouldn't even thought about that.
Exactly.
Like a professional what? Like, get out of here with that nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, like, it's a profession. It's a true profession.
When you see kids now, like, and that's the other thing, the difference is, like, well, I talked about her in the last podcast, but watching kids that are now, it started at the age of 5 or 6, and now you've got, like, the Rutolos, the Cola Bates, the
two little twins.
Yes.
Those guys, man,
the Tan brothers, they're rocking.
Yeah, not twins, but brothers, but man, I see all kinds of little kids out there doing fun stuff. There's like 2 little AMP kids that are sponsored, always posting like little stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So it's different now. So like you don't have kids with the aspirations of becoming a jiu-jitsu hero.
Yeah. Influencer.
Or influencer. That cracks me up. So once again, like I said, he founded the gym here. Went to Houston, and some of the other things he always told me, and he kind of spoke on in some things. He said, open the doors, be there. All right, the most important people, whoever shows up in the class, and I still do it today, whether it's 2 or 52. Whoever shows up, they're going to get my full attention. That's what we're here for. For the professor or the owners of the academies, and sometimes the owner is the professor, and he's running the school as well as teaching the classes. Give them their time off. Like I said, if they tell you, hey, Sunday I'm here to train, let them have it, because they're paying bills. They're maybe leaving their primary source of income.
They want to enjoy jiu-jitsu like you do.
That too. Just let them
Forget all that
fun.
other stuff. They want to enjoy it just like you.
Let them have some fun. Right. All right, let them get there. Right now, how many academies are you a part of, or have you helped got started in the last 4 to 5 years?
Just one or two.
Yeah, right.
I think a couple.
Per month?
No, just a couple.
Just a couple? You're going to go with a couple?
Yeah.
So you've only got a couple of...
So the academies that I'm a part of, this one, Renzo Gracie Clarksville. Down in Houston, I've got Renzo Gracie Houston in Sugar Land, Texas is my main academy that I teach at on a daily basis. And some of the other locations that are in Houston are Renzo Gracie Lake Houston, which is in Atascocita, Texas, in the northeast corner of Houston. Renzo Gracie The Woodlands, which is straight north of Houston, about it's like halfway to Dallas, it seems sometimes, but it's not. But it just seems that way. I give it a hard time. But it's like 45 minutes north of Houston, a really, really beautiful area. Renzo Gracie Katy, Renzo Gracie The Grove, that just moved into a beautiful facility in Richmond, Texas. Renzo Gracie HTX, which is downtown inside of Main Street Muay Thai and Boxing, or Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai. We've got an academy and a location inside there. We've got a location that we teach at Houston Christian University on their campus in their Bradshaw Fitness facility. That's a branch of the main academy that I've got. There's Renzo Gracie Riverstone. That's a facility in Sugar Land, probably only like 5 miles from my main academy, but I found the perfect location, like with the perfect group of people inside this neighborhood where people can walk or bike or whatever to the academy. It's a beautiful spot. We just opened Renzo Gracie Pearland in Pearland, Texas, which is straight south of Houston, off of 288 and Shadow Creek Parkway. Renzo Gracie Missouri City will open up probably October, November. They're building that building right now. It's right by my house. I could walk to it. It's that's going to be another nice one. Over in Austin, we got Renzo Gracie Austin, which the New Wave guys teach out of that academy. So it's a dual academy that we've partnered with those guys on that. I've got Renzo Gracie Round Rock that just opened just north of Austin. That opened beginning of this month. Down in San Antonio, we've got Renzo Gracie San Antonio on Fredericksburg Road. Then Renzo Gracie SAT, which is the airport code, because that academy is right by the airport.
Yep.
So we call it Renzo Gracie SAT. Over in West Virginia, I've got 2 academies too. Morgantown, West Virginia, Renzo Gracie Morgantown. The story behind that one is my partner there, Anthony, was actually my partner with Seth when I had Renzo Gracie Coeur d'Alene. And then Seth died tragically in a medical accident, and we had to close that business or turn that business over to another professor. I tried as much as I could to keep the vibe in that academy alive, but every time I went back there, it was just
less and less of your boy Seth, right?
heartbreaking and agony of going to that location with him not being there. And so it just got to the point where we just needed to turn it over to somebody. We hired an instructor, and then he ended up taking it over, and he's still running it up there, and it's doing great. Same building, same everything, and it's moving along good. I still follow those guys. I'm going to go back up October 14th when the intercity tournament is for the 3rd annual fundraising seminar for his death. The Navy SEAL Fund did a lot for him and his family when he passed away. So every year we do a fundraiser, and the beneficiary of that is the Navy SEAL Fund, so that way they can fund more Navy SEALs that that have tragedies like this. So Anthony was my original partner with Seth up there. So when that happened, Anthony moved right before that to West Virginia, and when it was time, about a year ago, actually, a little bit over a year ago, we opened up Renzo Gracie Morgantown. And then Renzo Gracie Martinsburg is getting ready to open up. Actually, they're going to have an open mat on, what day is today? Thursday. They're going to have an open mat on Saturday and Sunday. They passed their certificate inspection today. They're laying mats down tonight or tomorrow, and they're going to have their first open mat on Saturday and Sunday, and I think they're going to open up on Monday. So,
awesome.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's all of them.
You said a couple, but my count, that was like 17 or 19 schools.
So cool.
So when you started, it was different. It was Gracie Baja, right?
Yeah. So when I was in the Army and I was in recruiting, and they sent me, they tried to screw me and send me to Albuquerque, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because I never let any negative thing affect me, and I always make a positive out of no matter what situation that I'm in. And so they were like, "You're going to go to Albuquerque." I was trying to go to Seattle. I had approved move to Seattle. My battalion commander decided that he wanted to try to just mess with me for whatever reason. And so he ran an exception to policy to keep me in the brigade longer than what he should have to send me to Albuquerque, what he thought was punishment. Well, I got down there and I said, "What's the minimum time for this assignment?" And they said 12 months. I said, "You're going to get 100% of me for 12 months, but in 12 months I'm moving from here." And they laughed at me. You know where I moved in 12 months? Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Special Operations Recruiting. I made the best situation that I could, worked my ass off, applied for greater positions of responsibility, and did what I needed to do to get to the next level.
Did the work.
And so I turned, and that's where I met Tusa, actually, and started with Gracie Baja. So like I said, it was a blessing in disguise for a couple different reasons. It got me here. It got me linked with him. I moved down there to Albuquerque as a purple belt, and he was in his prime for world championship competition at that point.
Now, Professor Tusa, if you've not heard of him,
yeah, Roberto Alencar, Professor Roberto Alencar, and he was in the prime of his competition, competing.
Right.
And that would have been in 2006, 2007, I think, somewhere in there. And I moved in. We were about the same size, so he used to literally just beat the piss out of me repeatedly every single time we trained. And I would be like, "Let's go again." Like that. I got that mindset from wrestling in Iowa when I was getting my ass beat up there. I know this process. I've been in it before. It's gonna make me better.
Exactly.
I gotta stay in this, because the more I continue to get my ass beat, the more I'm gonna figure out how to not get my ass beat. And you know what I'm saying? So I'd been in that hammer and nail scenario before, and I knew the other side of it. And so I was down there for almost exactly 12 months. Right before I left, Tusa promoted me to brown belt. I came up here, wanted to compete, didn't want to teach at all, and then started teaching at SSF, which is now, I guess, Wildside or whatever. I started teaching at SSF in this little shithole place right down the street that was always disgusting. And it got to the point where I got tired of it being disgusting, and I wanted a legitimate place to teach. And so I literally I borrowed mats from John Rankin. Didn't we borrow mats from him?
Borrowed them.
I remember John Rankin.
Then we bought the rest.
Yeah, we borrowed mats for John Rankin so that way we could, because he had closed down his gym at that time. He had these mats just sitting around, so he let us borrow some mats from him. We used to stack them, pick them up, and put them down, which is no way that is not an academy. It was a club. And I never called it. I called it Clarksville Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. But I tell people from the very beginning, it was being ran as a club.
Yes.
Because anytime you're putting down mats, and you don't have a space, you don't have an academy. You got a club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so once I moved from here, I was here for 4 years. We started that in 10 or 11, I think. I think I taught down at SSF for a couple of years. And then when I moved, I was down in Houston 3 years before I retired. So as soon as I retired and I created that one, this one became one. And then Seth's actually, Coeur d'Alene, that was the first one actually that was a Renzo, because I changed teams right as that one was getting ready to sign the franchise agreement with Gracie Baja.
Oh yeah, I heard that story.
And
he
I
was
told him,
that day
and I said, Seth, don't sign that thing. And he was freaking out. And he's like, Brian, I told him the Gracies are coming. I'm like, oh, man, I know. Would you just trust me right now, please, for a second? Like, I know I'm not sharing a lot of information with you, but I'm trying to develop something right now, and I need you to just trust me. And so I let it develop, and it did. And he said, Brian, we're going to open tomorrow. I said, okay. And so I messaged Renzo, and I said, Renzo, respectfully, I'm trying to open up Academy in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho tomorrow, and I'd like to open it as Renzo Gracie Coeur d'Alene. Do I have your permission? He said, yes. I screenshot that. I sent it to Seth. He's like, holy shit, we're going to be Renzo. Going crazy. And as soon as that happened, like, Draculino knew at that point that I was changing, but that one was the first one. Mine was the next one. Half, Renzo's brother, was coming in like the next week, so my son and I painted the wall the week prior. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, we made that wall go from red to blue. We put cones in front of the wall so nobody could touch it, because the first thing that I wanted to happen was to change the color of that academy. And as soon as I changed the color from red to blue, like the vibe in that place changed, and like the whole atmosphere, and like me, like I was able to come out as like who I wanted to be as a person that shared jiu-jitsu with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So good stuff.
The phone call was simple. He called me, hey.
Yeah, and then this knucklehead wanted to wait till the end of the month. He's like, well, I'm going to wait till the end of the month. And I'm like, why? He's like, okay, I won't then. I'm like, all right.
So he calls me up. He's like, hey. I'm like, yeah, what's up? We're now Renzo Gracie. Okay. I was like, yeah. He said, yeah, we're switching teams. All right, not a problem. I was like, when is this happening? It just did. It's like right now. It's like right now. I was like,
right now.
Okay. No. I was like, I don't have a problem with the switch, but like, could we like get some time to tell people? No, yeah, you tell them tomorrow. He's like, hey guys,
right now.
Here we are.
Right now.
But it was a thing.
No time better than the present.
Yeah, it happened. It was cool. So like, we say, all right, bet, let's go. We're with it.
Okay. So. Well, I don't think we actually asked this question. How long have you been training jiu-jitsu, and how long have you been coaching and as a professor?
I started training like 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. I mean, I don't specifically remember. It had to have been the beginning of 2006, because I started training jiu-jitsu the day after wrestling season stopped. So I stopped coaching wrestling at a high school in St. Joe, Missouri, and then like literally started training jiu-jitsu the next day. So it would have had to have been like February or March or something of like 06, probably, okay. I think.
And when did you get your black belt?
Maybe it was 05. I think it was 06 though. 2011, March 2011, with Professor Tusa, Carlos Gracie Jr. promoted me to black belt.
6 years. That's, man.
Yeah.
He was dedicated.
That's smoking. But
at that time, like I had a different level of passion for it, and I had a learning mindset. And in the beginning, it wasn't like a teaching mindset. You know what I'm saying? It was a strictly learning mindset. I wasn't trying to share the art with anybody. I was just trying to absorb as much of the art as I could in those meetings. You know what I mean? And so I trained a lot. I mean, it wasn't good on my marriage, but it was better on my marriage because, like, I needed the mental clarity. The stress of my work at that time was at a really high level. I was in recruiting in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We were fighting 2 wars, 2006, 2007.
It's a like, horrible time to be recruiting.
Horrible time to be trying to do that job. Every single person that you were putting in the military was going to war. Everyone. There wasn't a, hey, you're not going to go. Like, every single person that joined during that time frame was going to war. So trying to convince people at that time, like, that's the right thing to do was a difficult thing to do.
So I'm going to assume that pressure and all that helped you develop the We Defy?
No, I didn't develop that. Alan Shabaro and Joey Bosick develop that. But I just was on it, and there's actually another guy too, but basically those two. There was three of them that one was a guy that damn it, can't think of his name right now. Sorry. But he was like the accountant and the administrator, and those three kind of organized it together. But then he left, and then Joey and Alan went on with it. But we were all together as a group. They were doing that thing, and then I was working with Mission. We were all working with Mission 22, and then they decided to branch off, or not branch off, but develop something separately with the We Defy Foundation than Mission 22. And so as that was happening, we basically there were a group of us of like 5 that would travel around the country and do seminars, as many as we could, to raise money for Mission 22 and awareness for veteran suicide. So literally any place that I could set up a seminar that would let me come and teach jiu-jitsu with Alan, Tyler Brassard, Pete Wilhelm, freaking Kurt Osiander went with us a freaking bunch of places. Bryant Pangolian went with us a bunch of places. Chris Howder, I've done 1 million seminars with that guy. He punched me in the chest one time in Dallas. It was hilarious. Julie and Ben Gumper were always there with us, doing these seminars. I mean, we I think did a lot for raising awareness for veteran suicide, especially within the community. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And then Joey and Alan wanted to, I believe, in my own mind, wanted to take it a step further and do something like within the same realm, but back to jiu-jitsu, because we were raising a bunch of money for awareness, but a lot of it wasn't going back to jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? And so now if we're going to fundraise for something and we see how powerful jiu-jitsu is, why not put those two things together? So I think that's what they were trying to do. And as soon as I kind of migrated over there with those guys, and we started doing that, and it was the same thing with them. Like Mission 22 had gotten to a point where it didn't need me going around weekend by weekend doing seminars for them. They were on a much higher corporate level campaign raising scheme at that point. And so it was easy to be able to leave that to migrate over to this new foundation that was doing a couple of things. Combat disabled veterans that they were trying to use jiu-jitsu as a form of therapy and physical fitness to get people like off the couch into a team, back into physical fitness, talking to people, interacting, you know?
Right, yeah.
And at every level. The Joey Bosick, one of the ones that started as a triple amputee. So for a person to say, I can't do this, you know what I mean? It's like, what are your excuses at that point? You know what I mean? I get it. You got a giant of a man with Alan Shabaro that's like 7 foot tall and like 800 pounds of like a mountain of a man. But then for him to be telling somebody, yeah, it's great for you. You should be doing this. Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, you're telling me I should be doing this. You know what I mean? Right. You're a specimen of a man.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then when you've got somebody else that is just as physically fit as that guy, but he just happens to be an amputee, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, he's missing like 3 limbs, and one of his arms is still disabled. And he's still competing, he's still training, he's still getting out there. You know what I mean? So at that point, it's like, what's your excuse?
Right.
You know, the only excuse you have is you. You know what I mean? Because we go back to that thing that we talked about a second ago, because you're trying to impress outside people. You know what I mean? Or you're afraid of the opinion of outside people. You know what I mean? I don't want to go in there because they'll think about me differently, or I don't want to do this because I'm afraid of that. Man, walk in that door. Those people want to help you. Those people want to invite you into their family. You know what I mean? Their team.
Which that kind of segues into another question I have.
Oh, now you get another question.
I don't have
Where are
to
these
ask
questions
you.
coming from?
I'm a smart
Did you write them
girl.
down?
No, I'm just a smart
so they're
girl.
just popping up,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. As someone who has practiced for about 2 decades now, and you've been with We Defy, how do you tell people, like, encourage people to take jiu-jitsu seriously for their mental health, and also not get so stressed out about jiu-jitsu and everything else, like just mental health in jiu-jitsu?
That goes back to that first thing. Like, the more stress a person puts on themselves to try to do something in that realm, in that room, they're really still staying in that mentally stressed position. You know what I mean? Because if they're worried so much, I got to get this and got to give all this energy to do this and this thing, and it's got to be right. And you know what I mean? Like, if a person would just slow down, be in the moment, try to just figure out how to do it right, not think about anything else, everything else in their brain completely goes away at that point. Like, literally goes away, and you don't even have to think about it going away. It just literally goes away. Because you're in the moment of what you're doing. The only thing you're okay, to go this way? I don't know. Does it feel comfortable to put your hand that way? This way? No. Okay, how about turn it the other way? Does that feel better that way? Oh, yeah, it feels a lot better that way. All right, well, try that hand then. You know what I'm saying? What about this one? Does it feel good to, I can't do it right now. Grab it like that? No. It feels better to grab it like this. I'm like, all right, well, let's figure that out then. You know what I mean? But when a person's like, I got to grab this and I got to grab that. And you're just like, geez, man, like, chill out, man. You got to allow your body to, like, figure this out. You know what I mean? You're trying to put too much stress on yourself. So,
yeah. So basically saying, don't roll mad. Like, just... No.
It has nothing to do with... I don't know why a person would roll mad anyway. You know what I mean? There's no reason to roll angry. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't do something to me to make me mad at you. You know what I mean? So why would I need to roll mad against you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm practicing an art, right? So I'm trying to execute that art in its most beautiful form, not in its most angriest form. You know what I mean? That's not why I do jiu-jitsu, to see how aggressively I can do it. I want to see how perfectly I can execute that technique with the most minimal effort I can do. That's what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I'm playing that look you in the eye, 6-gun death match of who can outsmart the other person. And sometimes it's me and sometimes it's not. But, like, that's the game that I'm trying to play. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like the funnest level possible.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Man, we could probably talk more. I know you got some stuff you got to get into. First thing he said, it's not going to be a 3-hour podcast. And then he gets up there and he's like, oh, yeah.
We're 2 hours in.
He's like, let's get it. All right, so we're going to land
You're
this plane.
asking questions. I'm talking.
No, it's great. No, it's been a great podcast. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've actually even learned quite a bit more about you, and I've known you for years.
That's true, yeah.
So that's
Long
cool.
time.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. But in all of that, guys, and he said it and I said, if you guys have questions, you want to find out a little bit more, we're definitely, next time he's out here, we'll get him on the podcast again. You can always hit us on the link, comment your questions, your thought processes. He's more than happy. You can reach out to him. You can catch him on IG, Brian Marvin, BJJ. Go to Renzo Gracie Sugarland, Renzo Gracie Houston.
Renzo Gracie Houston. It's not Renzo Gracie Sugarland. It's
Renzo Gracie Houston. You'll see him on there. Follow him on there.
Yeah, my Instagram is Brian_Marvin. It's just my name. It's in my face.
In his face. That face right there. It has launched 1 million chokes. All right, right there. Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
All right, yeah, he earned that name for real. But when he talks about the beauty of it, that's one of my chokes that you guys hate is from him. Because before, when I do a head and arm, I was just trying to pop your head off. And he got just angry. He's like, what are you doing? That's not a choke. You're just squeezing. If you're going to choke somebody, cut the blood off. They shouldn't feel it until they see the walls start closing in. That's when you know you've got a good choke. So now that's how I choke people. North-souths, head and arms, you're getting a good blood choke. Compliments of the beauty of jiu-jitsu, not the violence. All right, Calvin, anything you want to say as we're getting off?
No, it was great. I hope you come back. I'm going to hold you to that Renzo thing. Tell him I want to roll with him.
Okay.
He should know me. I'm kind of a big guy. You know?
Yep.
You might want to watch some of his seminars.
Not me.
You might want to watch some of the seminars.
Oh, I watch them all the time.
People. All right. Anything you want to say to the guys as you leave?
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me. You guys are doing a wonderful thing right here. Jada, I'm really happy and proud of all the things that you've done as well. I wish you a ton of success. I hope you continue to do great. But yeah, it's great seeing you guys, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. And, I'm just so excited to see how the continued growth and success. Hopefully we can stay in this place for a little bit and not move to another one.
Nah, we're good.
Hope so. Hope we're going to stay here, please. But yeah, it's going to be great to come back up in a couple of months and continue to see everybody improving.
Excellent.
Figure out some new stuff to teach people.
We like it.
Just a shameless engagement plug. If you're watching this, comment who has the best beard and the best bald head. I was trying not to make jokes all day.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Shots at the
So-
end. Shots at the end.
I haven't. I need a shave so bad.
Don't you ever shave that off.
But
I've seen
I was
some
trying not to
like
make
videos,
jokes this
like
whole
cheeks.
podcast,
No, sir.
so please,
Nah,
for
this will
engagement,
never
likes,
come.
views, and
Ever take that
follows,
This never coming.
best beard, best bald head.
But we already know.
I was just like, wow, look at these shiny heads. That's what I kept thinking.
My hair is so long on the sides right now, not on top, just the sides. Just the sides.
That's all right. That's an easy win
I'm
for
like
the
Hulk,
day.
I'm like Hulk Hogan.
Is that not the host?
All right, Jay,
All right, we got to land this plane. Stop, because I can sit here and laugh all night and have a great time. I really had a great time doing this, guys. If you're in the Clarksville, Montgomery County area looking for a place to train, try Renzo Gracie Clarksville. We got you. If you're in the Texas area, you heard all of them.
75 of them.
West
I mean,
Virginia.
there's a lot of great places to train in Houston. So I mean, anybody's always welcome to mine. But I mean, there's a lot of phenomenal jiu-jitsu in all of those locations. Like in Texas in general, is phenomenal what's going on down there. So I mean, even if it's not like my style of jiu-jitsu, things I like. I mean, there's whatever you want to find down there. There are exceptional people all over down there. So, I mean, always gonna try to have people learn from me or one of my partners or black belts. But you know, I understand just like everybody else that like people find their match. You know what I mean? So if we're not a good match for you, don't get away from jiu-jitsu. Go try a couple more places until you find the one that's right for you. But I mean, even if you're into jiu-jitsu and you're getting frustrated with it, don't think that you can't go find another location to train with. You know what I mean? I've trained in a lot of places. I've lived in a lot of places, and I'm not condoning like team jumping and stuff like that. But honestly, if you're not feeling good about what you're doing, even if it's one of my students, I would hope that they would want to go find a better fit for them and or at least talk to me about it. Hey, Brian, I'm sorry that you're not a good fit for me. I need this or I need that, and either I can accommodate them or I could give them a suggestion as somebody that would be a better fit. You know what I mean? So.
Indeed. Bottom line, it's your jiu-jitsu. Get what you need out of it, pour into it. All right. That's us signing off. Until the next time, we'll see you on the mats. Peace.
Yeah.